Chosen one, consider this a calm but serious briefing for a season where progress and risk arrive together. You are likely to see offers, invitations, and connections that look like the answer to long-standing prayers. Some will be genuine, others will only look the part. The safest posture is not fear, it is discernment. Slow the pace enough to test what stands in front of you. Real opportunity will tolerate questions, documents, and time to reflect. Counterfeits will insist you decide quickly, keep things quiet, or bypass normal checks. If you feel rushed, pulled, or pressured to say yes before you can think clearly, treat that signal as a protective alarm, not as an obstacle to success. You are stepping into a phase where improved visibility brings more attention than you are used to managing. That attention can be helpful when it connects you to partners who share your standards, communicate clearly, and keep promises. It is unhelpful when it is built on flattery, secrecy, or reactions that demand loyalty before trust has had a chance to form. You do not need to be suspicious of everyone. You do need to verify what matters. Ask for scope in writing. Ask for timelines, budgets, and exit terms. If the other party becomes uncomfortable with normal diligence, the opportunity is not strong enough for this stage of your life. At the same time, recognize that human responses will shift as you grow. Some people who once cheered will become distant. Others will look for flaws in your progress or try to slow your pace by raising doubts that are short on evidence but long on volume. None of this is abnormal. Advancement forces everyone around you to resort their expectations. Your job is to keep your center steady. Acknowledge sincere feedback because it can clarify blind spots and improve delivery. Decline to carry vague negativity because it only adds weight without adding light. When conversations are built on specifics, you can respond with specifics. When conversations are built on rumor, you can step back without apology. Pressure usually intensifies just before a meaningful step. That does not mean every pressure is sacred, or that ease is untrustworthy. It means pressure on its own is a poor compass. Distinguish between constructive pressure that builds capacity and corrosive pressure that demands you become someone you aren't. Constructive pressure looks like practice, deadlines, learning curves, and honest reviews that leave you stronger. Corrosive pressure looks like manipulation, moving targets, and moral shortcuts justified by urgency. If you are asked to trade integrity for speed, say no. If you are asked to trade clarity for mystery, ask for details and time. People who want your best work will want you clear. To make this practical, adopt a simple rhythm that protects you when momentum accelerates. Refuse to sign or verbally commit to significant terms inside a short window. Thank the other party and set a time you will revert after you have read everything, slept on it, and spoken to one person with no stake in your yes. Write down your mission for the next 90 days in one page. If an option helps that page, it earns consideration. If it distracts from that page, decline with thanks. Keep a small list of non-negotiables, the standards you will not break for money, access, or speed. The list does not need to be long. It does need to be real. Understand that risks sometimes wear familiar faces. A colleague can frame constant requests as teamwork while ignoring the agreed scope. A friend can present repeated boundary tests as a sign of closeness. A family member can ask you to justify healthy limits as if limits were disloyalty. Proximity does not create entitlement. Trust belongs to people who respect your time, honor your no, and keep what you share confidential. If you notice chronic ambiguity, boundary testing, or gossip disguised as concern, match distance to the pattern you observe and keep your tone steady. Clear is kind. Vague is unkind to you and to them. Attraction is natural. It is also a lever that can move you off-center if you grant it too much weight too quickly. Guard against decisions made in the flush of a new bond, especially decisions that merge finances, commitments, or reputations. Set a pace. Keep contexts separate until agreements are formalized and reviewed. Invite one objective voice to ask you simple questions you might avoid asking yourself. Notice the energy balance. Does the connection bring focus and peace, or does it consistently hijack your schedule, inflame anxiety, and demand explanations for basics like work, rest, and personal space? A relationship that weakens your attention to purpose is missized for your present season. Complacency often arrives quietly and makes a home under the respectable label of busyness. You can be busy for many hours and still avoid the tasks that move your actual mission forward. That is how drift begins. You notice that the basics, planning, rest, learning, healthy food, exercise, financial order, are always delayed until after this week, and somehow that week never ends. Bring the basics back. A short weekly review will show you what is working and what is falling through cracks. A short nightly reset will decide the 2 tasks that define tomorrow's success. One quiet block at the start of the day protects deep work from messages and noise. The consistency is not glamorous, but it is the difference between steady progress and a cycle of urgent recoveries. Treat high-stakes choices with formats that reduce regret. Name the downside in plain language so you do not romanticize the path. Pilot small before you commit big. Time box experiments and decide in advance how you will exit if the results aren't there. Put change orders in writing so scope does not expand without a matching conversation about time and cost. You are not being difficult when you ask for these guardrails. You are protecting everyone involved from confusion and from the memory tax that follows confusion. When you feel uncertain, return to first principles. Who are you without the title, the platform, or the new invitation? What mission have you already named for this season? What do your values look like when they are not slogans but behaviors scheduled on your calendar and recorded in your budget? Writing these answers makes decisions simpler. If a proposal requires you to split into conflicting versions of yourself, the cost will come due later with interest. If an offer lets you be one person in public and private, the compounding is positive. Give attention to the places where you live and work. Environments train habits. If your feeds are filled with voices that make you restless or resentful, change them. If your home is arranged around old seasons you have already outgrown, update it with objects and routines that match who you are becoming. Begin and end your days with anchors that quiet noise and restore direction. Handle small conflicts quickly and privately so they do not harden into stories. The goal isn't to create a perfect atmosphere, it is to keep the atmosphere aligned with the person you intend to be when decisions arrive. As favor increases, more introductions, more visibility, more projects, remember that favor is not only applause, it is accountability. Define scope before you begin. Share progress and variances in short, factual updates. Credit others openly. Protect your capacity by declaring project caps and response windows. Say no cleanly when requests exceed the limits you have already set. This is not cold. It is stewardship. Without it, the very doors you prayed for become corridors of exhaustion and under-delivery. Keep a small set of red flags and green signals in your mind. Red flags include urgency that bypasses review, secrecy framed as loyalty, vague terms where contracts should be, open reluctance to references or phased starts, and isolation from your usual counsel. Green signals include written clarity, openness to audits, respect for your pace and boundaries, disclosure of risks by the other party, and a steady convergence between your private peace and external confirmations. 2 short questions can cut through noise. If you say yes, what will you stop doing to make room? And if the choice failed, how would you explain it to someone you respect? You will draw attention. Some of it will be helpful, some of it will be curious, and some of it will be unhelpful. Sort it without hostility. Substantive critique, even when it stings, is a resource. Vague negativity is static. Envy usually sounds like comparisons, dismissals of the work that prepared you, or fixation on outcomes without interest in process. Respond rarely. When you must respond, keep it brief and accurate. The quiet proof of consistent delivery is a better argument than any speech. Put an ethics card in your pocket, short enough to remember and strong enough to hold you upright when the room gets loud. Tell the truth about results and correct mistakes openly. Get consent before sharing other people's stories or data. Keep fees and terms stable unless both parties agree to changes in writing. Disclose relationships that could bias your choices. Treat critics with dignity. You will not keep every admirer, but you will keep yourself. Open doors are options, not commands. There is no rule that says you must walk through every door that opens. Ask whether the door advances your present mission. Ask whether you can walk through it well, without hurting your health or your closest relationships. Decline doors that require you to fracture into multiple personas to cope. The right door matches both purpose and capacity. Provision and obedience are often linked in the language of faith. In practical terms, this means honoring commitments at the standard you promised, ordering your finances so you can explain them without scrambling, and refusing to mortgage long-term trust for short-term relief. People invest in clarity and credibility. You do not need perfection. You do need clean records, straightforward budgets, and a habit of finishing what you start. Hard seasons are not useless. They can become raw material for better systems and deeper empathy if you are willing to process them. Map what the last crisis taught you about people, planning, and pace. Close the gaps it revealed. Teach from scars instead of wounds. That means you share what you have worked through, not what you are asking an audience to hold for you. When you metabolize pain, you convert it into guidance that prevents repeat injuries. It is fair to acknowledge that windows close. Teams move on, resources shift, and timing matters. Let urgency be real without being theatrical. Name the deadline. Decide by the date you set. Distinguish between a no that is about timing and a no that is about principle. Protect your yes so that when you give it, it means something. Private work precedes public outcomes. Inputs you control. Practice hours, feedback loops, attempts. Produce outputs you watch. Customer results, stakeholder satisfaction, and the metrics that matter for your mission. Share process internally so your team knows how wins happen. Share results externally so partners and audiences see the truth of your work. Public momentum is a lagging indicator of private consistency. If acceleration arrives, keep your footing with a few constraints. Cap the number of high-stakes projects you run at once. Set response windows so you are not living inside a constant emergency. Schedule recovery after launches because fatigue makes people careless. Once a quarter, stop doing one thing to fund the next step with attention. Speed is useful only if you can steer. Boundaries can be kind and brief. You do not owe a paragraph to every request. A short, clean no preserves relationships better than a delayed, resentful yes. A short deferral gives others the chance to proceed without you if their timing is tight. A scope guard converts vague add-ons into clear decisions about time and cost. An exit line allows you to make space for obligations you have already chosen. This language keeps the day from filling with negotiations you do not intend to enter. Over the next 2 weeks, embed these habits with small steps. Write your one-page mission and your top outcomes for the next 90 days. Adopt your 24-hour pause before major commitments. Name the red flags you are most vulnerable to and the responses you will use. Schedule one conversation with a principled advisor who is not invested in your yes. Pilot one opportunity with a small scope and explicit guardrails. Publish your response times and project caps to close collaborators so expectations are shared. Run your first weekly review and remove one low-value commitment from your calendar. Minimal steps, repeated, will outperform large vows you cannot sustain. This first half has one central message. Your path forward asks for vigilance without drama. The balance of conviction and patience will keep you from mistaking a trap for a door. Verify more than you assume. Let your ethics be visible. Protect your energy with routines that are simple enough to keep. When the atmosphere around you becomes noisy, return to the one-page mission you wrote in quiet. The people who are meant to work with you will appreciate the clarity. The opportunities that are meant to carry you will survive the testing. Part 2 will continue from here. We will look at how to walk through the right doors without losing your footing, how to manage rapid elevation so that growth does not outpace character, how to handle provision and influence with structure instead of impulse, and how to convert restoration, recognition, and expanded territory into durable impact rather than brief momentum. Chosen one, you have reached the point in this message where the focus shifts from vigilance to action. The first part emphasized how to recognize counterfeits, guard your boundaries, and maintain clarity in the face of pressure. Now the task becomes learning how to walk through the right doors without losing yourself, how to carry rapid elevation with steadiness, and how to convert growth into durable influence that serves not only you, but those connected to your purpose. Elevation can arrive quietly at first, then suddenly accelerate. If you are not ready, the speed will overwhelm rather than empower. If you are prepared, the same acceleration will move you into spaces you once only imagined. The first reality of new seasons is that open doors are real, but they are not all equal. Some are strategically aligned, designed to position you for growth, impact, and deeper alignment with your calling. Others are diversions, attractive enough to catch your eye, but empty when tested for long-term value. The discipline here is not to say yes to everything, but to say yes to what fits. An open door is an invitation, not a command. Your choice determines whether the opportunity becomes a pathway or a detour. Before you walk through, pause and ask simple questions. Does this door move me closer to my defined mission? Can I step through it while staying whole in my health, relationships, and values? If either answer is no, the cost will surface later. Rapid acceleration is one of the most challenging phases for anyone stepping into a new level of influence. The sudden rise can feel like a storm of opportunities. New introductions, unexpected visibility, invitations to rooms you never thought you would enter. At first, this rush feels exhilarating. Soon after, it can feel exhausting if boundaries are not clear. To manage speed without collapse, keep your system simple. Cap the number of major commitments you accept at once. Anchor yourself with routines that do not bend. Rest, reflection, planning, and faith practices. Build in recovery after launches or major transitions. The strength of acceleration lies not in taking on everything at once, but in focusing on the few opportunities that compound with time. With rapid elevation comes greater responsibility. Influence is not a trophy, it is a trust. The way you carry yourself in new rooms will determine whether doors stay open or close quickly. Treat every new platform with humility and preparation. Speak only what you can sustain. Commit to projects where you can deliver at the standard promised. Share credit widely and consistently. The temptation in a new season is to prove worthiness by overextending. The wiser path is to prove reliability by delivering steadily, even if the pace feels slower than the applause around you suggests. Consistency outlasts novelty, and credibility is the real currency in every expanded sphere. Provision will follow obedience. That principle is not abstract, it is practical. Resources flow most strongly toward people who are faithful with what they already have. When you complete what you start, manage money with transparency, and honor agreements without needing reminders, provision increases. This provision may arrive in money, in time, in relationships, or in creative ideas that break bottlenecks. Do not despise small beginnings or modest resources, because stewardship at this scale qualifies you for larger assignments later. Avoid shortcuts, no matter how promising they appear, because shortcuts trade tomorrow's trust for today's convenience. A record of faithfulness builds a foundation no opposition can shake. Restoration is another theme that emerges in seasons of transition. Losses, betrayals, and disappointments often precede breakthroughs. Restoration does not mean a simple return to what once was. It means something greater, stronger, and more refined. Imagine a vessel broken and reformed with gold lining its cracks. The brokenness becomes the very feature that adds strength and beauty. Your own restoration will work the same way. What was taken will return in new form, richer than before. The challenge is to remain patient during the rebuilding process. Restoration takes time and cooperation. Resist the urge to rebuild in your own speed or with your own shortcuts. Trust that what is forming is more resilient than what was lost. As restoration unfolds, you will find yourself entering new rooms of influence. These are the places you once only prayed for, the circles of connection that seemed out of reach. They may be corporate, social, spiritual, or creative spaces. Enter them with respect for the responsibility they carry. The point of influence is not status, but service. Influence allows you to shift conversations, introduce solutions, and model integrity for others watching quietly. Every word and action in these rooms will ripple beyond what you can see. Prepare yourself to be not only present, but effective. Influence is best used when it lifts others, not when it draws attention only to you. Fulfillment will follow. The dreams, promises, and longings you held through silent seasons will begin to manifest. Fulfillment rarely looks exactly like the image you imagined. Often it is larger, more complex, or layered in unexpected ways. Accept it with gratitude and humility. Waiting seasons were not wasted. They were shaping your character, deepening your resilience, and preparing you to carry what is now in your hands. When the time of fulfillment arrives, act with confidence. The stage has already been set, and the resources aligned for your success. Walk forward without hesitation, knowing the preparation was not in vain. In every step of fulfillment, remember that you are not alone. Support surrounds you in ways seen and unseen. Some will come in the form of human allies, mentors, peers, colleagues, who provide perspective and encouragement. Others will be less visible but no less real. Divine strength, unseen protections, and timely interventions that close harmful paths while opening beneficial ones. This support requires cooperation. Stay connected to your practices of faith, gratitude, and prayer. Keep humility alive so help can reach you without resistance. Support works best in partnership with your choices. It multiplies your efforts rather than replacing them. As influence expands, so will your territory. Expansion is a sign of trust, but it is also a test. More influence brings more responsibility, more decisions, and sometimes more opposition. Do not shrink back in fear, but also do not step forward carelessly. Expand with wisdom. Ask for counsel when the stakes are high. Share leadership when tasks outgrow your capacity. Keep your integrity intact, because the higher the platform, the further the fall if integrity is lost. Expansion should be measured not only in numbers or visibility, but in the depth of impact you make. Aim for influence that transforms, not just attention that entertains. In this second half, the central message is continuity. The preparation of Part 1 leads into the execution of Part 2. Counterfeits lose power when you adopt discernment. Acceleration becomes sustainable when you simplify and steward. Provision follows faithfulness. Restoration brings strength out of brokenness. Influence becomes meaningful when carried with humility and service. Fulfillment comes when preparation and timing meet. Support surrounds you when you remain connected. Expansion becomes durable when grounded in integrity. Chosen one, this is your moment to act with clarity and conviction. The traps are real, but so are the opportunities. The difference between the two lies in your choices. Do not rush, do not compromise, and do not lose sight of the mission that brought you here. Walk carefully, carry your influence responsibly, and let your journey become a signal of hope for those still waiting for their breakthrough. The season ahead is not simply about your advancement. It is about the impact your advancement will make on others. This is the charge before you. Step forward, anchored and awake, into the doors that have opened for you. Chosen one, as you stand at this threshold, the guidance for your next steps must go deeper. Part 1 gave you the framework to identify traps, guard against manipulation, and establish boundaries that protect your peace. Part 2 expands into how you walk through new opportunities, carry rapid acceleration, and hold restoration, fulfillment, and expansion with steadiness. This is not about a momentary rise. It is about building a foundation that ensures the rise is sustainable. You are entering a period where choices matter more than ever, because the scale of your influence will multiply their impact. One of the greatest challenges of new doors is the subtle assumption that every door should be walked through. When you see options multiplying, it is easy to think that refusing an opportunity is wasteful or ungrateful. In reality, discernment is part of gratitude. You honor the opportunity by evaluating whether it matches your mission. An open door that requires you to split your identity, compromise your values, or sacrifice your health is not a gift. It is a detour. The real sign of maturity is the ability to decline a door gracefully, trusting that the right one will remain open. This decision may confuse others, but you are not accountable to their expectations. You are accountable to the clarity of your own calling. When acceleration comes, it rarely announces itself gradually. At first, you may feel a sudden surge of invitations, requests, or recognition. It feels like a flood. Without preparation, that flood can drown you in commitments that stretch you beyond your real capacity. But with preparation, the same acceleration becomes a current that carries you further than you thought possible. Anchor yourself by limiting your scope. It is not weakness to say no. It is strength to focus on what compounds with time. For example, one meaningful collaboration done well will open more doors than 10 rushed agreements done poorly. The discipline of focus in times of acceleration protects your name, your energy, and your credibility. Responsibility deepens as influence expands. You cannot treat new visibility as a stage for self-promotion alone. Visibility is stewardship. Every word and action you carry into new rooms influences not only those who see you, but those who hear about you. Your character becomes the silent message behind your work. This is why humility is essential. Walk into rooms with confidence, but also with reverence for the weight of your presence there. Speak carefully, commit thoughtfully, and act consistently. Do not confuse applause for authority. Applause is momentary. Authority is sustained by integrity and delivery. In every new space, focus on leaving behind a reputation for honesty, clarity, and respect. Provision will follow your faithfulness. Faithfulness is not limited to prayer or intention. It shows in practical details. Paying what you owe on time, honoring contracts without needing reminders, completing work with excellence, these are forms of obedience that invite provision. Resources flow to where trust is clear. If you can be trusted with little, you will be entrusted with more. If you misuse small provision, larger resources will not sustain you. They will expose the cracks in your discipline. The habit of integrity in small matters prepares you to handle larger ones without fear. As you walk into new seasons, remind yourself that provision is not luck, and it is not random. It is the outcome of obedience, alignment, and stewardship. Restoration is often misunderstood. People imagine it as a simple return to what was lost. But true restoration is not replacement. It is transformation. Something greater than what you lost will emerge, stronger because of what it endured. The cracks and wounds become part of the beauty, like gold woven into broken pottery. That is how your restoration will appear. What left you in tears will become the very story that makes others believe in resilience. The relationships, opportunities, and platforms that rise again will not look identical to what came before. They will be sharper, wiser, and more prepared. Patience is required because restoration is not instant. Yet when it comes, it will justify every season of waiting. With restoration comes entry into rooms you once only dreamed about. Influence is often tested here. Some will be tempted to use new rooms for status. But status fades quickly, while service endures. Ask yourself in every room, what value can I add? What wisdom can I contribute? What encouragement can I offer? Influence without service becomes vanity. Influence with service becomes legacy. Carry yourself with quiet strength in these spaces. You do not need to prove you belong. Your preparation already qualified you. What matters now is what you do with the opportunity. Use your influence to create openings for others, to speak truth into spaces clouded with noise, and to model integrity where compromise is common. Fulfillment often arrives after long periods of waiting, and when it does, it feels both familiar and surprising. Familiar, because it looks like the dream you carried silently. Surprising, because it rarely looks exactly like the picture you imagined. It will often be bigger, layered with responsibilities you had not anticipated, or shaped in ways you would not have chosen. Yet if you remain grateful and humble, fulfillment will carry joy. The waiting seasons that once felt heavy will be revealed as preparation. The battles you endured, the rejections you faced, the nights you doubted. These moments formed the strength you now need to hold fulfillment without breaking under its weight. As you step into fulfillment, remember that unseen support surrounds you. The strength you carry is not only your own. Forces beyond your sight are at work, ensuring that paths open, harmful doors close, and protections stand in place when you are unaware. This is why humility is critical. When you think you built everything alone, you risk pride and eventual collapse. When you remember that you are carried, you remain grounded and open to help. Support is not a replacement for your effort, but it multiplies your effort. Stay faithful to your practices of prayer, gratitude, and reflection. They are not rituals to check off. They are the lifeline that keeps your spirit aligned with your purpose. Expansion is perhaps the most visible sign of favor. Your influence spreads, your circle widens, your platform grows. But expansion is not only about numbers, it is about depth of impact. Expansion requires you to lead with wisdom, to share responsibility, and to guard against the temptation to spread yourself too thin. The larger the platform, the greater the scrutiny. The higher the influence, the more responsibility for how it is used. Handle expansion with intentionality. Let your yes remain measured, your no remain firm, and your focus remain sharp. Expansion is a test of maturity. Can you hold more without losing the essence of who you are? If you can, your impact will ripple far beyond what you see now. This part of the message is about continuity. Everything you guarded in the first part prepares you for what is opening now. The traps were real, but so are the opportunities. The discipline you practiced in vigilance equips you to step confidently into action. Provision comes when you walk faithfully. Restoration transforms loss into strength. Fulfillment arrives when preparation meets timing. Support surrounds you when you remain humble and open. Expansion becomes durable when carried with integrity. Your story is not ending. It is unfolding into chapters that others will read for guidance and courage. Chosen one, this season is about more than your rise. It is about the impact your rise will make on others. Walk carefully, but also boldly. Do not rush, but do not shrink back. Hold your integrity like a compass, and let your purpose remain clear even when the pace accelerates. Every decision now echoes into the future, shaping not only your destiny, but also the lives of those who will be touched by your journey. Step forward, anchored, awake, and ready. The doors have opened. The responsibility is in your hands. The time is now.